So I'm going to do this series on teaching you guys how to use elk calls better. And I think that begins with the very fundamentals of picking the right elk call for you. Now, just because your buddy likes one call doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. So a lot of guys will pick up a diaphragm, and girls, and they'll put it in their mouth for the first time and it doesn't work. They'll blow it and they don't get a good elk bugle or a cow elk sound out of it. And they think, man, I can't do this. Or maybe it tickles their tongue, or maybe it gives them the gag reflex. So let's go ahead and try to figure out why maybe that reed's not working for you. All reeds are not created equal. Some have really thick latex, some have really thin latex. Some have domes on top, some don't have anything on top. They call them flatties. And just by grabbing maybe one or two, you don't really give yourself a fair advantage on learning to call well with a diaphragm. So my suggestion is to pick out as many as you can afford. If you can afford 4, great. If you can afford 6 or 8, that's even better, because you want to have options, because you need to pick out different ones with different latexes, with different stretches, because you just have to experiment and see which one works for you. Now, some folks say they have a real issue with diaphragm reeds, like they have too much air escaping when they're trying to blow it. It'll sound like they're blowing, and they got all this air escaping around the edges of the diaphragm reed. A lot of times what the problem is the reed is too big. So you need to kind of trim back the tape on there. So you can take a pair of scissors and maybe cut back maybe a 1/4 of an inch. I would probably start with like 1/8 of an inch and trim back about 1/8 of an inch of the tape, and make that, see how it's got this curve here? Maintain that curve as you trim it back. That way you keep the shape right. And trim that back and see if that helps. See if it kind of seals off a little better in your mouth, because you don't want air escaping around the outsides. You want all of your air to be going right across this latex here. So anyway, trim it, try it. If you need to trim it a little bit more, that's okay. You can trim these all the way down almost to the frame. When my kids were little and they had little mouths, we trimmed them right down to the frames, and they worked well. They were able to use them. Now Jason, he'll probably go in pretty depth on all the differences in the calls, since he's probably got a whole bunch of, well, he's got all of them right there at his disposal. I've just got a handful of them here. But the main thing is when you buy your reeds, get a wide variety of different thicknesses of latex. And if you're unsure on that, ask around. Ask your buddies, ask the sales guys, and try to figure out which ones are which, and then get a wide variety, because you never know which one's gonna work for you. And once you find that one that when you put it in your mouth, you easily make a sound, maybe that's a good one to start with, to start practicing with. And we'll use that one right on through the next part of the series. But don't discard your other reeds, because as you get better, you'll probably find that you can manipulate the other reeds better than you could the first few times. And you may find a favorite on one that you didn't like at all in the beginning. All right, well, that's it. I didn't want to make this too long on picking out a reed. It's just pick a variety of reeds, get a whole bunch of them, as many as you can afford, or what's reasonable, and then start trying them, and then find out the one that you like best.